I'm going to give you an overview of Kids Matter, who we are, what we do, and why we've chosen parenting to help us reduce the impact of poverty on children. So I'm just going to share my screen with you now. Okay. Right. Hopefully everyone can see that. So at Kids Matter, we've got a vision to see every child in need raised in a strong family. And our mission is to reduce the impact of poverty on children through our community-based parenting programs. So when we think about that, we need to think about, so how does building a strong family reduce the impact of poverty on children? And as we know, poverty, you'll have all have heard this in the news over the last few years, is a rising issue across the UK. And it seems like that's only going to continue to be an issue as we face the cost of the living crisis that we're currently in, and is not currently reducing much, with many families being tipped into this crisis. So 1 in 3 children are growing up in poverty currently, and living in poverty impacts a parent's ability to manage stressful events and use effective parenting skills, which can have a negative impact on the parent-child relationship and on the child themselves. So I think because we're a small enough group, it would be really great just if people could just maybe raise your hand physically or put the little kind of emoticon up, to say, and let's just have some ideas about what are some of the ways poverty or low income can impact parents. Just call out.
I think I would say stress.
Yeah. Stress, good. Who else has got an idea?
Stigma.
Stigma. What other ways, some of the ways poverty can impact parents?
Might be that children can't afford food, so coming to school hungry.
Yeah, food poverty. One more.
It affects their learning as well.
Yeah, it's educational opportunities. So yeah, so food poverty, education, poor education, which leads to kind of potentially poor employment, not always, but can do. And there's unstable housing as well, community violence, lots of different things that can impact the ways, the impacts on parents from living in poverty. So in sum, living in poverty can impact a parent's ability to manage stressful events and use effective parenting skills, which then have a negative impact on that parent-child relationship, which is so key. So I'm just going to share my screen again with you. Yeah, so we can see that under some of those circumstances that we've just chatted about just now, and people have thrown out, that children are more likely to struggle with that range of social, emotional, and behavioural issues when they're faced with all of those challenges. And parents can find it difficult to meet the needs as they too are struggling. And we all know that parenting is difficult. Those of us who are parents on the call will know it doesn't matter where we sit, what demographic we sit in, it is challenging. It's a challenging job being a parent. And then all of this other stuff that you're having to deal with when you're living in some kind of relative poverty, it makes it even harder. So what are some of the ways poverty or low income can impact children? Well, stress, neglect, getting behind in school, like we mentioned previously, health challenges, and that increased risk of ACEs, which are adverse childhood experiences, navigating the impact of that. So if children have experienced trauma, then just having to navigate that as a child is really hard if you don't have that support from the parent at home. The Department of Health has estimated that 4 million out of 11 million children in England were failing to meet their developmental goals due to stress in the family caused by mental illness, domestic violence, the presence of drug and alcohol abuse, or by social and material conditions causing chaos. The parents struggling with poverty are more likely to be struggling with these, and then when their children start acting out or having issues, which I'm sure some of you have seen in the work that you do, they're less likely to be able to manage them well. And research has shown that low-income parents are less likely to be nurturant or to supervise their children adequately, or more likely to use inconsistent, erratic, and harsh discipline. Now, that is not a rule, it's just a risk. So we recognise that parenting itself, as I've said, can be hard for every parent, and we all need that help sometimes. But those parents who are facing those additional disadvantages due to that low income, the low support network, can find it harder, and they can face isolation more and a lack of support, which then impacts their own mental health and confidence. And it's a perpetual cycle, and their ability, therefore, to parent well. So Kids Matter has been specifically designed for parents facing those disadvantages. And the good news is that the parent-child relationship has been proven to have the greatest influence on reversing the impact of poverty. Both parenting style and parental involvement inside and outside the school environment impact on a child's early development. And there are lots of amazing parenting programs out there, but what we are specifically focusing on is those parents who have that low income, low support network. And so the program is written with that lens, and we have a parent advisory body as well from the demographic that we are working alongside to help us ensure that our programs really do meet the needs of the parents that we want to come alongside, as well as the research that it's all based on. So what our programs offer is a space for parents to grow in confidence, competence, and community, building a stronger bond between child and parent. So there's
child parent the relationship to class the area.
Hello.
Child the parent.
Someone's trying to say something. No, we all good? Okay. So just now to delve into what are those key components of our program, so that you know what it looks like and what makes it effective. So first of all, it's early intervention, and which is vital because it kind of gets to that root cause. Secondly, it's engaging and it's accessible content. So we want to make it as straightforward as it possibly can be, so that people can really engage with it without it being uber complicated. There's also prayer support from the church. So we partner with the church, and I'll explain about that again in a moment. But then the church can be praying for the parents, praying for the people facilitating it, and for the welfare of the whole group. And then, as I mentioned right at the start of this call, the support from a facilitator. So every church that, the support for the facilitator, sorry. So every church that partners with us, they get one of our support coaches who comes alongside you as a church, alongside the person facilitating the programme, and can troubleshoot with them and can provide extra support for them, gives them a call during the programme, after the call, helps you think about how you can engage parents to the next programme that you're hoping to run. So you're not left on your own to have to just get on and do it. We are with you all along, helping you to speak to parents, bring those parents onto the programme, and make sure that it's being delivered well. So the program's also inviting and welcoming. We love just to have a table, normally a table. It could be in the school hall, it could be in the church, it could be in a community centre, with kind of 6 to 8 parents around the table with tea, coffee, cakes, whatever refreshments work for your area. And then there's somebody in the door welcoming those parents into this space. So it's really that sense of hospitality. How do we make those parents feel at home? And then we're also working with using the wisdom in the room. We're not about telling parents how to parent. None of us like to be told things generally. We're about kind of asking questions, saying, you know, what are the routines what do the routines look like in your household in the evenings, kind of for bedtime? Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. What are the challenges? What are the things that work? What are the things that don't work for us? So it's about thinking of using that wisdom that's in the room. Every single parent has one of our booklets. We look at a different theme each week around parenting, and the facilitator has a booklet to help them ask good questions. And then it's short, it's only 6 weeks long, the programme. And again, research shows that where programmes are much longer than 6 weeks, then it's very hard for parents to regularly attend them. So that's one of the reasons why we keep it short. It's led by someone from the community, from the local church community generally, because those you can get to know the parents, build long-term relationships with them, signpost them to other services that they might benefit from, that might help them, that they might enjoy being a part of. That could be toddler groups, it could be debt advice centres, it could be a play centre nearby. And we also evaluate it. So if we don't know what the impact of it is, if it's not having an impact, then what's the point? So we make sure that we ask parents at the start, at the end, and at the 3-month mark of the impact that it's having, and the questionnaires that we use to do that. And it's sustainable. We don't just want it to be a one-off. Who wants a one-off program? You know, quite often these programs, the parents would bond on them, the facilitators build great relationships with them. You're local, it's hyper local, so you can continue those ongoing relationships, supporting one another for the long term. That's a lot of information. We will have a chance for questions a little bit later on, so I'm sure there is some questions on what I have said there. But for now, we're just going to think about the fact that we've got 2 programs that you might be interested in. We've got Kids Matter in the community, and we've got Babies Matter. And Kids Matter is run in local community settings such as schools, nurseries, community centres and church halls. And facilitators will work in partnership with community links, which could be a school, to coordinate small groups of mums, dads and carers for children aged between 1 to 10. And where we've seen partnerships with local schools, they're the strongest partnerships that happen, because the school have all that knowledge of the parents who could really benefit from the programme, but where the church is actively involved in school life, then they have the relationships with the parents as well. So the church will invite the parents to it because they will know the parents and their work in the school, and then that removes that stigma that can sometimes be had when you're invited to a parenting group. And also Kids Matter in the community, is focusing on parental wellbeing and confidence, and equipping those parents with the tools to build strong relationships, and to give every child in need a chance to thrive in life. And then on your screen, you can see that wonderful picture there of very tiny little babies. Some of them look very, very tiny. And this is a picture of a group of people who've done Babies Matter, which supports both expectant parents and those with new babies. And facilitators partner with local support services and healthcare providers to run small groups in local community settings. And the Babies Matter as a programme helps parents to lay a firm foundation for their family by building strong attachment with their child, focusing on the understanding of their baby, as well as looking after their own mental well-being as a parent. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment, because that could be, whoa, lots of great information overload. So I'm going to ask Jan, would you mind sharing with us a little bit about your experience as a facilitator?
Yeah, that's fine. Can you all hear me? Yeah, okay. So I've led 2 courses, Kids Matter at Eastern Christian Family Centre, and both times we've had 8 women, and they've all been from the school next door. There's a school next door, C of E school, and they've all come from the school. All our women have been refugees or asylum seekers and have not had English as their first language. But that's actually worked fine. You would think it might be challenging, but actually they've had a good level of English, and they've engaged with it really well. It's been an absolute privilege to do the course with these women. When they started with us, they were really lacking in confidence and felt very isolated. And especially, I think, because they're refugees and asylum seekers, feeling very far from their families, in an unfamiliar culture, really unsure how to bring up their children here. And as the weeks have gone on, we've really seen them grow in confidence, support one another, and I think no longer had the feeling of I'm alone in this and I'm the only person struggling with this. It's lovely to see the women share openly with one another and say, yeah, I also have exactly the same issue as you, and help each other out. So to see the confidence growing over the weeks, the support within the group, and how the women trust each other more and more over the weeks, and really make an effort to encourage one another. So it's been a real joy. And then when we've done the booster afterwards to see the impact 3 months later, we've seen it's long lasting. They're still remembering what they've learnt on the course, and it's made a huge difference to family life. So I think it's a very impactful course, and it's really changing families.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you so much for that. It's just really great to hear from somebody who's running it and has done it and has that personal experience. And I think we're also going to just hear from Rachel as well. So Rachel, if you'd like to share with us for a minute, couple of minutes or so, that'd be fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, morning everyone. Sorry, I was a bit late joining. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Right. So I trained, I'm a children's and youth and families pastor in Bristol, and I trained with Kids Matter as a facilitator in 2019 with another member of one of our church congregations. We're 2 churches in our benefice, and we've now run the programme of the groups at both churches. We ran 2 before we went into our first lockdown, and we carried on meeting with the mums that we had through all the restrictions, meeting outdoors when we could, and dropping things by their front doors and things. But the course as such had to stop. But those links, because of the programme of having the 6 weeks and then another 6 weeks, you meet up as a catch up, and then in 3 months you do your booster session, that enabled those relationships to continue. And I think that's one of the real strengths of the programme, like Jan was just saying. I've really noticed that we've done it again since all those lockdowns, and we're still in touch with we've had about between 28 and 30 people now doing the programme, and we're in touch with about 26 of them. So we've managed to keep those links, and that's been over that 5-year process. We mostly get mums through our 2 toddler groups at both churches. So in some ways there's a natural kind of, they at least recognise one another, even if they might never have spoken, or it might have just been, you know, sort of the pleasantries of being in a toddler group rather than knowing one another. But there has been some knowledge there. We've also run it in one of our local schools. We were getting to the point where after COVID, getting crash helpers and volunteers back again was really tough. And we thought, what can we do? We prayed about this, and the door opened at one of our primary schools. They said, could you come and do it here? We're like, yes, that's great. That was an answer to our prayers. We didn't have to run a crash. And that time, the mums came through recommendations from the school. Then we've run it again through our toddler groups again. And so it's just keeping up those, it's all about the relationships, I think. And the programme lends itself really well to building strong relationships. We get them onto Church Suite, and then they get all of our notices. We invite them to events, the Messy Church events, the Christingle, Nativity, and they've been coming along to that. And 2 of our mums from the first group that we did down in Avonmouth joined the church. One of them has become a trustee at the food bank. So it's a real way of building the community, I think. So that's what I think is really empowering about it as a charity. It works really well with churches. So yeah, I think if you've got any questions, I'd be happy to answer more specific questions, but I'm really enjoying being a facilitator as well. I came from a teacher background like Jane, and it's some of the best training I've ever received. It's very hands-on, very practical, but there's also all the theory and the psychology behind it all as well. It was really fun to train in Bristol. There was about 7 of us who all trained at the same time. And we've kept in touch. WhatsApp has been great for the groups keeping in touch, but also with local facilitators. So there's a lot of support. And the Kids Matter facilitator the coach gives a lot of support as well. So in a way, it's accountability, but it's also very supportive, and it's a two-way process. And she came and visited one of our groups last November. It was just really nice after lots of Zoom meetings to meet in person. But yeah, so I think it's ongoing support, and the facilitators have regular sort of, I think, is it almost termly, definitely quarterly training, which is ongoing, which is really good.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rachel, and just encouraging to hear that as well. I would pass that on to our support coach team as well, how you've spoken of them. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions before we move on of the facilitators that we have on the call?
Just wanted to mention that where we see iPhone 2, that's Amira, who was a parent on my last course. So just so you know who iPhone 2 is, I just saw her, so she's joined us. Hi, Amira.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you, Jan, for inviting me.
No, it's great to have you on the call. So we're just going to do some questions, but actually I wonder if now might be a good time, Amira, if you're happy to share. I could just ask you a couple of questions about your experience of being on the program. Would you be happy to?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, I'm happy. Sorry, I'm in town, guys. So if you just
Love it.
see people passing by and everything. So
the wonders of technology, right? That we
yeah.
Cool. So Mira, I don't think we've met. I'm Catherine. I lead the partnerships team at Kids Matter. So my team is the first port of call for churches who are interested in running Kids Matter in their.
Lovely meeting you, Catherine. Everyone else. Yeah.
And maybe Amira, you could just share with us a little bit about your experience of the program. How did you find it?
Okay, thank you. And basically, when I first joined the parenting course, I had struggles with meeting just my basic needs of meeting emotional and intellectual. What does the child needs as a first parent and someone who had a child in my family. My child was the first grandchild, so didn't have much friends that were parents. So, and until my son joined the school, and he's now in full time. So I was having a lot of challenges, like tantrum, setting boundaries and things like that. So then I just, I was lucky to come across this course and meet Jan and Emily, and they helped us and to basically navigate through, to tell us how the course were, giving us tips and advice, meeting how to parent, and just general questions about parenting. And it's just like, it's a big scary thing, at times it can be. So, and also meeting other moms and having support and advice, and it's very helpful and very beneficial. Great. For me.
Thank you, Amira. And following on from that, what would you say is the difference that it's made in your family's life?
It had made a lot of difference. For example, like at times where my child is basically is not doing what is expected of him, and because we did not have boundaries, for example, like, and it was like one of the techniques, like rewarding good behaviors, and also not to go to punishments, and also not lose temper when your child is not doing what he's meant to do. So much skills that we gained, and I'm just like still learning and also putting that into practice after the course.
Yeah. No, thank you. And I think that's the thing. It's an ongoing game, isn't it? You could say it's
Never ending one.
never ending learning patience as well with it all.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else that you'd just like to share with us, Amir?
Yes, I want to share that even though the course has finished, but still, we can always go back to our tutors that have taught us all the skills that they, and also go back to them to say what is working for us and what's not, just to seek, also help or support. Jan is always around in the family center next door to our school in Eastern CV Academy, so we can always see her or meet the other Jan as well. So Emily is not being around, but I think the both tutors are still around. So it's always great to have our tutors nearby as well in our community.
Thank you. Such an encouragement to Jan and also Rachel, who are on here, who's another facilitator for us. Just that what you're doing and how your constant presence is so valued by the parents and by local people in the community. And thank you so much, Amira, for your time. Really appreciate it. Please do stay in the call if you would like to, but also I can see you're probably very busy going around town doing what you need to do. So don't feel like you need to stay as well. I am just going to quickly, before you go there, I've just suddenly thought in my head, would you mind if I just open it up to questions? Because some people might have a couple of questions themselves. Is that be okay?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Amira before we let her go about her work in town?
Just wondered how old your child is now and how old they were when you started.
Oh, he's still 5. At the time I think we started the course, he was 4, 10, and 5. He turned 5, so he's 5 now.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Amira, can I ask you how you actually first found out about the course?
The course I found out from other parents that have done the course last year, other mums in school, in the same school as us. So they've told me how helpful the course was. And so therefore I put my name down and I was lucky to be in. So other mums have not had the chance, but they are, put their names down for the next group.
Yeah. Amira, was it advertised in school?
It was not advertised in school, but it was word of mouth. So just like other mums in the school. So it would be great to be for it to be advertised. But if there is capacity of taking a lot of parents, but there is a long waiting list, I believe.
Great, thank you, Amira.
Thank you very much.
Jan, can I ask you then? So in terms of the relationship with the school, do the school ever signpost families to you?
Yes, I believe so. I'm not the link person. There's another Jan called Jan Pike, who is the link person between the church and the school. So she coordinates all of that. So I'm not totally sure. I just turn up on day one and I have 8 lovely women to work with, and I'm not sure how they came to us. But I think they do. I'm pretty sure they do.
Right, okay.
Mm-hmm. I think I can answer that, Christine. There's another wonderful woman. There's some wonderful people in Easton. There's another wonderful person called Toria who links up. She's in the school, but she was also part of the church, and she's the sort of family support person in school. So she does a lot of linking up of parents. So I think that's going on as well. I'm sure Amira knows Toria. I would have thought Toria more. Yeah, look, she's saying yeah. So it's all in there. There's a beautiful link going on, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Toria is one of yes. Great lady, yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Amira. Please do stay on, as I said. Or if you need to go, please feel totally free to go as well. We're going to move on now to talk a little bit about some more about the impact of Kids Matter.
Bye-bye, Amira.
Bye-bye. care.
Amira,
Bye.
thank you.
Yeah, so you've heard a little bit there about the impact of Kids Matter through Jan and Rachel, and also from Amira. And we're now just going to spend a little bit of time, just probably about a minute or so, just thinking about the impact in a bit more detail. And then we're going to move on to having some alternative. Yeah, okay, great. So I'm just going to share my screen with you again. Yes, hopefully you can see that now. This is just, it's much more interesting, isn't it, hearing from parents that have been on the programme and from hearing our facilitators than sometimes hearing stats. But stats can also be exciting. And here you can just see that it's, some of those stats, some of the things that parents have said about the programme. And it's so important to us at Kids Matter to measure that impact in a variety of ways. And what we're trying to evaluate is parents' well-being and their confidence and how that grows over time. And so from the questionnaires and surveys, and again, our facilitators on the call will know all about this, and quotes from facilitators, we know that parents are growing in confidence and that their well-being has increased significantly and that they are enjoying their children more and have found the programme really beneficial to them. But as Amira was saying, there are those tools that you kind of get on the programme, but then it's that ongoing journey, which we all know, and that constant kind of putting it into practice. And we're not perfect. No one's ever going to be perfect. That's not what we're trying to do. It's just putting those tools into parents' hands, coming alongside them, learning from them as well, so that they can grow in confidence and competence, and their children thrive, families thrive, and we build that stronger community and society ultimately. So you can see from this slide some of the impact that we have evaluated. I'll just let you read that for 5-10 seconds. Okay. And so moving on, this is just a real snapshot for you to be able to see our partners that we have currently in the country. We've actually got 67 partners now across the UK. We've got one in another country as well, in Bulgaria as well. So we're kind of international. We are international, but only in one place. And we are in 26 total areas across the country with just over 111 facilitators currently. And you can see down there in the southwest, Bristol, and going further down, there's a real kind of like hub of partners. So those of you on the call now, you are in kind of like a hive of activity of Kids Matter that's going on in the UK. And we would love to see that whole map all green with lots of red dots on it, being able to support every child in need across the UK. So with that increased confidence that we've spoken about, and a parent is able to manage stressful and challenging situations with that warm, firm and encouraging parenting style, and then that has a positive impact on their relationships with their child. And in addition to the skills gaining and the confidence gaining that they get, they're also gaining community, which reduces isolation and helps parents manage their daily challenges. And again, Amira kind of like spoke about that a little bit, of how, Jan was there for her. She can always go back to her. She can always go and ask more questions. It's not just kind of like stopping at the end of 6 weeks. There's people there long term to kind of come alongside you. And that's so important to think about when you're thinking about partnering. How are you going to be able to support those parents long term, whether it's through just being a friend, going for coffee with them, organising a play date with some of the other parents from the programme, or signposting them to things that are going on in your church or wider community. So just in summary, improving the parent-child relationship has been shown by research to have the greatest influence on reducing the impact of poverty on children. And so that is why at Kids Matter we focus so much on, or focus only really on parenting, because we know that that will reduce the impact of poverty on children. So I'm just going to now, I'm looking at the time, we've got kind of 10 minutes or so left together. Going to just throw it out to the floor of any other questions that people might like to ask. Anything to the programme, anything you've heard from the facilitators, you can ask me, you can ask Jan, you can ask Rachel, you can ask Jane, any other questions that you might have.
I was just wondering, how much is there a cost to doing the training and to be a facilitator?
Yes.
And what is the commitment for being a facilitator? How long does it take?
Yeah, we can answer. So what I'll do is I'm going to answer the first question about the cost, and then I'm going to ask one of the facilitators to talk about the commitment, because I can answer it, but they know what the commitment is practically.
Lovely, thank you.
So the cost is a one-off cost for training, which is £180. And then you can train as many facilitators as you like subsequently at any point in your partnership at no extra cost. So that's just a one-off fee. And then there is a partnership fee, which covers all the support booklets that we send out for every parent, for the facilitator guides, for the support coaches, and what they do with you. And that very much depends on the income of the church. So if the income of the church is under £150,000 a year, it's £10 a month. If the income of the church is between 150 and 400,000, it's £35 a month. And if the income of the church is over 400,000, it's £52 per calendar month. And we recognise that churches have restricted funds, and that can skew kind of what your income can look like. You can get money that comes in, it goes straight back out towards a project. So that we wouldn't count within when we look at what your income is. We would just have a nuanced discussion with you and decide what's the best bracket for you to fit into as a church. Do you mind talking about the commitment of the facilitator?
Would you like me to answer that?
Yes, go for it. Thank you.
So the training is, as I remember, 4 short days, and it's very practical because it's on Zoom. You can do it on Zoom. So that was very convenient, and not lots of breaks in between. So it didn't feel too much. And it's actually really great training, as Rachel has mentioned. I learned so much. I'm also a teacher. And I teach adults, and I learnt a lot actually from the Kids Matter training about how to teach better. So it was excellent. And then in terms of the commitment afterwards, depends how often you run your course. We run it twice a year, once in the spring, once in the autumn, for 6 weeks. So there's a taster session, then you have your 6 weeks, and then 3 months later a booster, to see how the programme is impacting the women or the parents. So for me, it's not a massive commitment, and it's very manageable.
It's worth saying that also it's really good to train up 2 people, because then that shares that kind of load as well, and it's just great for sustainability and succession planning. But the programme itself is 2 hours each week for 6 weeks, but you would need kind of like, to put on probably at least 45 minutes before and after. So you're thinking like a 3-hour commitment, 3.5-hour commitment each week for those 6 weeks that you're running it. And then obviously continuing to engage with parents and asking parents in between the programmes and inviting them to the next one. Does that help, Nick? Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Yeah, Catherine, can I ask again? So do you have any written material about with all this information on that you can email to us, because you've given us lots of information today, and if we could have the outline, and especially with things like the costs and time commitments, that would be really helpful.
Yes, we do. We've got a church information pack, which maybe Jane, if I send that to you and then you can forward it on to everyone that's on the call, maybe that's the easiest way to do that.
Absolutely, that'd be cool. Yeah, I'll follow up in an email to everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jane.
Any other questions?
Have we said what each course focuses on?
Oh,
like,
no.
Each of the sessions, not the whole course, but you know what I mean. Each of the sessions, I'd be interested to remember what that is.
Yes, because Jane was actually worried before this call, because when I had tech issues and couldn't get onto it, she said to me, "Oh, I'm trying to think what the sessions are made up of if I have to quickly kind of like do this call instead of you, Catherine."
Yeah. I think I could have busked the whole session, but there we go. It's all right. So yeah, the 6 sessions, what are they focused on?
The first session looks at kind of who's the family, what's the family makeup, who are the parenting team, and we use parenting team for obvious reasons that families look very different from one family to the next. So we think about what's the family makeup, and we also have a week on play, encouragement, and listening. So how do we play with our children well? How do we listen to them well? How do we encourage well? We have a week on love languages. So how do we show love to our children? How do we receive love? We have a week on rewards and routines as well. I always get these two muddled up. Facilitators do shout if you can remember, because I always think, is that week 4 or week 5? And we also have a week on the traditions, the values that you would like your children to grow up with. So if you might say in that situation, I like to take my kids to church on a Sunday. If there's a Muslim who's part of your group, they may say, I take my kids to mosque. Or it may be just another parent in the room says, I just want to take my kids to the park every Tuesday after school, and that's a tradition that we do as a family together. So it's thinking, what are those things, those value traditions that you would like to see in your family growing up? Jan, Rachel, have I missed something? I think that's all of them. I think I've covered everything.
Well, I think you've covered it all there. And I think because it is so focused on where they're at as being parents, and it covers all the main bases of things that they're going to be coming across, it really speaks into them, what they're going through. So even if they're a bit quiet at the start, by the end of the 6 weeks, they've all got something to contribute. And it is all about the sort of power of the conversation going on between them all. So those are the sort of main issues of parenting that everybody has, but it is condensed down. And I think another success, I didn't say it earlier, but I mean, it is underpinned by prayer. And we pray before every session, we pray afterwards, we get other people praying during, we've got the church behind us backing that. And I think that is huge. And also having another facilitator alongside me really helps. Because although in terms of commitment, I'm just doing my job anyway, but I am looking for volunteers to become more, I need more volunteers basically, don't all churches, but if you've got people that have the time, then they can't be committed every week all year round sometimes. And if you've got a range of different facilitators, and this is a new thing from Kids Matter that they're now going to train. If you're already involved as a church, they will train other facilitators for free. So if you can just get one signed up, first of all, but then build your team after that to come on board, then you're onto a win-win. So I think that would be really good.
That's really helpful to say, Rachel. And I think also,
I don't know whether I should say that in front of you, Catherine, but I know from my point of view, that's what really helps.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I mean, we always try to encourage churches right from the outset to train up 2 people, if at all possible. But we totally recognise that it's so hard to find volunteers. So training up one person, if you've got a good, strong partnership, train up one person, and then maybe your group helper, because you also, I don't think I mentioned that actually, but you would have a group helper as well who's not trained by us, but they may be someone who might become your facilitator, a second facilitator further down the line. And also what we're really trying to encourage churches to do is to think about, well, once you run a programme or run 1 or 2 programmes, who are the parents that are on the programme that could then train up to be a facilitator, because they've got the most experience of parenting in the challenges that they face. So try to think, maybe you can invite one of the parents in the programme to then be a group helper the second time, and then maybe be a facilitator the 3rd or 4th time as well. And really do think about what is the demographic of your area like, right? How can your facilitators reflect the demographic of the area that you are working within?
I vote for Amira to become one.
Okay. Yeah, that's. Are you working on that?
I was just thinking the exact same thing.
Confirmation there, then.
Yeah.
I'm just aware we've got 3 or 4 minutes left, and I just want to make sure that I share with you before we go when our next trainings are, so that you know that. So I'm just going to quickly ping that up on the screen for you. Okay, so you can see that we won't do the well we can. I do encourage you actually straight after this call, if not now while I'm speaking, just write down that one thing that you're going to do as a result of today's meeting. So I'm going to actually give you just like kind of 30 seconds to think, what am I going to do? think about who could be your facilitator, who could be your church partner, lead, that person who's getting people to pray in the church or the program, but not a practitioner. Or do you need to speak to a church leadership team? You find the facilitator. So it's going to be 30 seconds to think for yourself about that quietly. All right, hopefully you've all got a thought, that one thing you're going to go away and do after our call today. Just so you know, our next training is in March, which is very soon. It may not seem like soon, or maybe it does to some of you, but it's 11th, 12th, 18th and 19th. It's from 9:30 until 3 p.m. on Zoom each day. All 4 days need to be attended. And as Jan was saying, it's very interactive. I can assure you, you won't have time to get bored on it. So if you are interested in partnering with us, then Jane will send out an email later today or tomorrow with the church info pack in it and my email address. And then you can just email me directly. And actually, Jane, I might give you my colleague's email address. I'm going on annual leave on Thursday. And then my colleague can arrange a conversation with you. If you are really interested and would like to come to March training, I really would encourage you to email us ASAP, because a facilitator just needs to fill in a short application form, and there is a process to go through, and that can take, you know, some time, just because if you've got to find facilitators, you then need to have a call with us about it. It'll be March before we know it. But we do also have a training in June, and in June there is a Kids Matter training and a Babies Matter training. So just have a think about that if you are interested in moving forward with us.
Yeah.
And if you've got any other questions, please just, once Jane has given you mine or my colleague's email, no questions too big or too small, please just put them in an email and we will be happy to arrange a call or answer them online for you. Other than that, thank you so much, Jane, for facilitating this and having us come along. It's great to work with Bristol Schools Connection, and we love working really closely with schools and churches because they're some of our best partnerships. Back over to you, Jane.
Brilliant. Thank you all for coming. And yeah, I mean, we set it up as a taster. It just gives you a bit of a flavour of it, doesn't it? And you sort of think, okay, right, it's given us stuff to think about, you know. And I know, like, even I live in a village in between Bristol and Bath. I'd love to do it, but it's a bit on the back burner in terms of it's just who can do it, and with limited resources and so on. But when the moment arises, hopefully that will happen. So I don't know where you'll be at. Some of you will be thinking, yeah, this is something we could push forward this 2024, or it might be a bit of a back burner. So yeah, hopefully you agree it is a fantastic programme from what you've heard about, and yeah, giving you stuff to think about. And then just finally to say, yeah, Bristol Schools Connection, we are here if you need support with anything to do with connecting with your local school. I will hopefully have some wisdom on that, or I will know some wonderful people all across Bristol who will have some wisdom on that, because there's all sorts of people in our network who do lots of wonderful things in emerging stories with schools and churches. So yeah, do stay in touch. So yeah, that's all cool. I'll follow up with an email. Thank you ever so much. Very, very good. Have a good rest of your day. Brilliant.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.